This news program is proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Now Biscuits.
Polgara environment issues raised by aggrieved landowners. Innovation PNG conference to be held in November. And 18 non-citizens removed by Immigration Department. Good evening, this is National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. Innovation PNG is the only event of its kind in Papua New Guinea. The conference will provide the opportunity for PNG's wider business and government community to learn from, be inspired by, and engage with the best innovators in the country and overseas. The event will be held at the APEC House in Port Moresby from the 9th to the 10th of November 2023.
The conference is a joint initiative of the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry and business event specialists, Business Advantage International. Rio Fioko, the president of Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry, clarified the purpose of the conference.
And the night before, on the 9th of November, we'll have an awards night, which we'll award various categories for innovation, new technologies, apps, products that have been developed by Papua New Guineans and PNG companies. So there'll be an award for big business, one for SMEs, and also one for government, because government itself is transitioning to what's called e-government.
Topics to be discussed during the event are digital economy, digital government, how to develop an innovation culture, cybersecurity, e-commerce, artificial intelligence, and technology megatrends. The publishing director of Business Advantage International, Andrew Wilkins, elaborated on the government's participation in the conference.
You've already seen some examples of digital government. For example, if you apply for a visa to enter PNG, you go through the Immigration and Citizenship Authorities portal. If you want to register a business in PNG, you go through the IPA's online portal. If you want to pay tax now, as a business, you go to the IRC's online portal. All these things are starting to move online. This year, I think, for example, the Motor Vehicle Insurance Limited is starting to have online registration of vehicles. All these things are happening.
Mr. Wilkins stated that this educational conference will best suit young people, reason being they are well versed with technology innovation. Amanda Ilaitia, National EMTV News.
A total of 80 non-citizens have been removed from Papua New Guinea and sent back to their country of origin over the last 6 months for various criminal and administrative charges. This was revealed by Chief Migration Officer at the Department of Immigration Citizenship Service Authority, Stanis Hulahau, recently.
The Chief Migration Officer clarified that these removals were done either administratively, through conviction, or after being acquitted by the courts. Thus far, 8 foreign nationals were being removed from the country while others were being deported. The department is working closely with Customs, National Fisheries Authority, and the police on other cases that are still pending investigation and court appearances. These include foreigners suspected of being involved in transnational crimes, money laundering, and drug smuggling across our borders. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Community government members' allowances of 700 kina per month, as announced earlier, will take time to process sorted. Community Government Minister in the Autonomous Bougainville Government, Theonila Matbob, revealed this yesterday during the ABG Parliament yesterday.
Minister Matbob told the ABG Parliament that although a circular was issued earlier this year, there are still some issues that the government has to address before this is realized. She explained that the autonomous region of Bougainville was not included in the PNG government's LLG plans. However, discussions are continuing to include the 47 community governments on Bougainville. Minister Matt Bob, through a message to this newsroom today, clarified that currently a vetting process is ongoing of deceased members and updating of names, hence the delay. She said there is another implication where the LLG Act of PNG does not imply to Bougainville. Minister Matt Bob further appealed to the PNG government to make it clear on legal implications of this exercise. Lindy Suharupa, National MTV News.
High-Tech Otis Limited has launched a new dedicated shared office facility called Zone Share that can cater for all of the basic services required to operate a small business in a shared office environment. This is the first dedicated shared office facility developed in the country in recognition of a lack of affordable commercial space office for Papua New Guinean entrepreneurs.
The concept of Zone Share was developed due to recognition of a lack of affordable commercial office space for entrepreneurs who wish to embark on establishing small businesses. The dedicated shared office facility is located at High-Tech Compound Gardens in Port Moresby. The General Manager of High-Tech Otis Limited, Leslie Radcliffe, says their key fundamental criteria include a clean and functional office desk also for visitors to Port Moresby for business purposes can have access to secretarial services and access to meeting rooms.
Other factors critical in ensuring we cater for the individual needs include a minimum rental period of 1 day for office mods and a half a day for meeting rooms. We deemed that business speed internet access was a must in a modern business environment and needed that to be bundled within an affordable daily rate. We want to provide a welcoming environment whereby clients from all walks of life would feel comfortable accessing our facilities without the stress of accessing buildings in the CBD or similar locations.
The chairman of SME Corporation, John Porra, says this kind of facility is not for all but for those who really want to transform themselves. He stressed that facility like this shows that the country is advancing.
You're on the verge of one of the greatest opportunities from e-commerce, innovation, where the government's going, what the Department of ICT is doing, the talk of e-governments, where the Bank of Papua New Guinea is going, where all our institutions are moving towards. You're at the forefront of this. But what's most important is that you're taking care of a citizen segment that must be taken care of. We have over 19,000 displaced formal students every year, 19,000. That's only the formal. The informal of 85% of our population, who knows what it is, but you see it and you feel it on the streets. Am I correct? So a facility like this may not be for all, but for those who really want to transform themselves, this is your facility.
Moving forward, they will sign a memorandum of understanding between MSME Council and Zone Share that will provide permanent discounted rates to all MSME Council members. Esther Gane, National MTV News.
National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National MTV News. Members of the Pogara Riverine landowners have made an urgent call to the government to facilitate a compensation agreement with them before issuing a new environment permit. Their appeal was made this afternoon in Port Moresby. The Porgera Mine riverine communities have made a call today to the national government with two agendas in place. The first one is on the environment permit, in which they have urged the government to facilitate a compensation agreement to them before issuing a new environment permit. Team leader of the Porgera riverine, Peter Papo, made his statement.
We are not against the reopening of the mine. We applaud the Prime Minister for all the effort that is being put into reopening the mine. We are thanking Barrick to coming on board, but we appeal to our Prime Minister to please hear the cries of your poor riverine people and not to transfer the permit and get consent from us through a compensation agreement for riverine waste disposal. Without a compensation agreement, please know that riverine waste disposal is not allowed and consent is not given by the riverine community to dump waste in our river.
Socio-economic impact and environmental damage is a controversial issue that these landowners have stated. For years, the communities along the riverine have benefited from the thriving alluvial mining industry, which is the Porgera River alluvial goldfields. To this day, alluvial gold mining has been lost, including clean Porgera River, due to the dumping of tailings and other wastes. Aken Puluku, representing the Porgera riverine community, explained the cause and made an appeal.
Now that Barrick and national government are talking to restart the mine, I want government to seriously look into this and pay a compensation for the loss of alluvial mining, the gold that we used to find along the river, and also to compensate the leaseholders because they underpaid my father and the other people who used to have a alluvial mine lease. We're strongly asking the national government and developer to come and get our view on how we can go about, because the sediment that you're dumping, we're getting yearly payment. Barrick used to pay us, but it's not enough to sustain our livelihood for people who heavily rely on this alluvial mining because there's no cash flow.
Meanwhile, this newsroom has reached out to the Minister for Environment Conservation and Climate Change, Simo Kilepa, and this was what he stated, and I quote, "We are waiting for the state negotiating team and Prime Minister James Marape for further directive. The transfer of the government permit has its own process in line with the law. The legacy issues can be settled by the former company or can be transferred to the new company." End quote. Further directives will be given by Prime Minister Marape. Community policing, district police capability, and the challenges and way forward for the police in the new district of Wawarria are three important aspects that need to be addressed. Morobe Provincial Police Commander Chief Superintendent Jacob Singura says to achieve all this, partnership is important, as the Royal PNG Constabulary has a clear mission statement of working in partnership.
Speaking during the Wawarria District Development Forum in Morobe, Singura says policing is everyone's business and communities have to take ownership of policing. Singura says it is about collaborative efforts.
Point fingers at police and say, police, you are not chasing up, you're not following up, you're not doing enough. But the problem lies with every one of us. The police and our people in the community. Therefore, we support police so that we would be able to know who that, perpetrator would be.
Singura says for Morobe and especially in the new Wawarria district, police need new infrastructures, and the Wawarria MP Mash Narewek has shown his interest to support, which is an advantage for them.
I am happy to say that I have initiated some projects for our new district, and I have seen the vision for our new member here, Honorable Mas Narawek. He's got very good plans, and that is the way forward.
The commander adds that the WOW police station will be upgraded, including the establishment of the Family and Sexual Violence Unit in WOW.
Already announced for the upgrade of the existing police station in WOW, which is something good that I have pushed for, and it is now it will come to fruition. So I'm happy to announce that. And another project which I proposed and I've already made submissions for is the establishment of a new Family Sexual Violence Unit office here in WOW.
He says with the setup of the FSVU, families can report violence in WOW, including some men who are victims of sexual violence but were not given attention.
So now we see that perpetrators of violence, the focus is now on men, but there are instances, cases where you would see that the wives will also be perpetrators. Some husbands don't become violent.
He adds that before WOW Warrior District is developed, infrastructure for police is important. Singura says there must be good police station and police houses before police personnel can be sent to work in the district. He says the sooner these infrastructures are in place, this will enable police officers to work and live in the new district. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
East Sepik Provincial Health Authority has received a new fleet to support the work of the doctors in strengthening the foundation of primary health care in East Sepik Province. The East Sepik Provincial Government and East Sepik Provincial Administration, under the leadership of Governor Alan Bird and Provincial Administrator Samson Torovi, presented a key to the East Sepik Provincial Health Authority.
Present yesterday to receive the vehicle, a 15-seater highest bus, was the East Sepik Provincial Health Authority CEO, Matthew Calavia, the chairman of East Sepik Provincial Health Authority Board, the board members and the doctors who were there to witness the ceremony.
You doctors are highly educated, you can understand what...
Governor Bird highlighted that in their structure, they have been allocating funds to LLGs since 2021. He says the government is supporting the Provincial Health Authority because they want to be the best health system in the country.
Institutional arrangements, MIPLA by deal on the LLG. That's the way the system is designed. UPLA come in because we need the PHA to manage the health system because it's quite large, it's complicated, and it has specialist workers. So MIPLA don't have managing as a province. That's why you're here. You've got something to teach the others. Plenty of provinces, they want to abolish the PHA and one, but me, like being a former chairman, I saw the difficulties. And then me transition come up Governor Kenso. I want the system to work, the health system to work. That's why we're supporting you. CEO and the administrator, they work very closely together. In terms of building the system for the province.
He concluded that in terms of building the health system, for the province, they need to be more efficient in their operating structure. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
Jiwaka is mourning the death of one of its pioneer political leaders involved in shaping the new province. Late Chief William Wee, former two-term North Wagi MP from 1982 to 1992, who passed on last week and was given a funeral ceremony at Bardstown in Jiwaka yesterday.
The funeral program was organized by Jiwaka Provincial Administration, where people from all three electorates of the province gathered. Late William Wee of K&K tribe in Barnes was described as a man of integrity who had been instrumental in obtaining Jiwaka province due to his political links with late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. He is the father of Jiwaka's first female pilots and boss of PNG Defence Force Air Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Wee. In attendance were former MPs of North Wagi, leaders of Western Highlands and Jiwaka, as well as current North Wagi MP Benjamin Moole and other notable senior statesmen and women. Late Chief William Wee was described as a humble yet hardworking and patriotic Jiwaka man and a Papua New Guinean. His daughter, the Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Wee, described him as an encouraging father who believed in empowering women to excel, and she was a living example of his mentoring. He was described as a rare honest leader by those who attended the funeral. Late William Wee is survived by his 2 wives, their 11 children, and 23 grandchildren. His casket was later delivered to his tribe to be laid in his village. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
Now taking a look at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2810 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2735 $0.4115 Australian dollars, $0.2430 euro, 39.11 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed lower, cocoa closed higher, copper closed lower, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Churches and local parish have always been the staple of communities around the country. However, lack of government support has been one of the many reasons why church establishments in rural areas are run down and are forced to close. But a community in Madang's north coast is doing everything it can to save their church from falling apart. The people of Murukanam in Sumkar district have come together to host a week-long rally and raise funds for the rebuilding of their local church and are now calling on the provincial government to assist in their quest.
Built in 1981, the church was a community initiative. Hence, it holds a special place in the Murukanam community.
Outside belum ilukim auslo tu stop. Auslo tu desla auslo tu atwo belum ol tumbunan al papa mama belum dipo oli atwo flongen. Na oli planim kon na salim golong ol mission Catholic mission Catholic church oli baim na desla money pal kamapim desla auslo tu na leukemia. 40 years ago finish oli working na desla auslo tu pagara pogota.
Suwan said the total estimated cost to rehabilitate the church building is around 150,000 kina. They have raised 10,000 kina and have reached out to business houses and a local logging company but are yet to receive a response. Hence, this is their last fundraising.
People have been raising funds lo sample year ago finish. People no come up yet long. There's a kind amount long money where renovation by okay. That's why people only in this rally inside this rally by got fundraising activities too by come up today. For 1 week by fundraising activities by come up. Now people hope awesome and by last fundraising. Hopefully by next year,
people from as far as Ramu and Rai Coast district are expected to attend the week-long crusade and help the Murukanam community raise funds for the rehabilitation of their St. Paul's Murukanam Church. The governor is expected to attend the closing of the rally this Saturday. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
And now moving to overseas news, at least 11 people are now known to have died at a pizza restaurant in eastern Ukraine when it was hit by a Russian missile. 3 children were among the dead, including 14-year-old twin sisters.
Outside the ruins of a popular restaurant, anxious relatives and friends still waiting for news late this afternoon here in eastern Ukraine. Another body, the 11th so far, is brought out, to the distress of those hoping for word of more survivors. Among those already confirmed dead, these twins, 14-year-olds Yulia and Anna. This was the scene in the city of Kramatorsk last night, moments after a Russian missile hit the restaurant and a nearby hotel. Shock and panic amongst survivors. My daughter is still inside. Her name is Irina, said this woman. Later, Irina was found, photographed here, under the rubble just before she was rescued. But the death toll has continued to rise. The Ria Lounge was a favourite venue for young Ukrainians, international journalists and Ukrainian soldiers taking a break from the nearby front lines. Rescue work continued through the night. It's become a grim routine now in a big industrial city that's been repeatedly targeted by the Kremlin's forces over the past year and a half. And this time, a new twist. Ukrainian security services releasing this photo of a local man they've just arrested, describing him as a Russian agent who allegedly sent video footage of the restaurant to the Russian military just hours before it was destroyed. Did the Kremlin deliberately target this particular restaurant? In a sense, it doesn't matter. Russia sent 2 big, powerful missiles crashing into the center of a crowded city at a busy time of day. Civilian casualties were almost inevitable. Another air raid siren, but the rescue work goes on regardless.
The Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, Richard Marles, says Australia will be happy to keep troops and police in Solomon Islands over the long term. Mr. Marles made the declaration while visiting Honiara after holding talks with Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare.
Australian troops and police have been in Solomon Islands for quite some time now. In fact, since late 2021, when they went in to basically restore order after the capital, Honiara, was rocked by wide-scale looting and rioting. And since then, they have played a role, essentially ensuring that the stability of Solomon Islands is maintained.
We made clear that if it was the Solomon's wish for SIAF to continue, then Australia stood ready for that to occur, and that we were happy to support a continuation of the SIAF's presence in supporting the Royal Solomon Islands Police Force as necessary. Obviously, this is a matter for Solomon Islands, but we wanted to make completely clear that from the perspective of Australia, we stood ready for that support to be provided for as long as possible. And we obviously know that there are a couple of really big events coming up for Solomon Islands. The Pacific Games in November is critical, and making sure that the security environment around that is peaceful is obviously a key objective of the country, but so too is the peaceful conduct of the elections in April of next year. And so we're very mindful that an ongoing SIAF assistance could be of assistance to Solomon Islands, and we've certainly made clear that we would be ready to provide that if Solomon Islands wanted it.
Australia's also made a few commitments to help Solomon Islands essentially replenish its small boat patrol fleet, which is something that Solomon Islands police rely on quite a bit to ensure stability in the country. Again, the signalling here is quite clear. Australia wants to make sure that if Solomon Islands needs anything, particularly in the security space, that it's Canberra they turn to first.
6 specialist clinics in Melbourne will close this week in a move the doctors say would put the staff and patients at risk after not receiving any state government support.
the final days and the final patients.
I'm really disappointed that it's not going to keep going.
This respiratory clinic is one of 6 in Melbourne that will close its doors this week. The state government funding that allowed it to operate will end on Friday.
As a person who lives in the community as well as serves people in the community, in the middle of winter, I was somewhat surprised that we might be closing facilities like this.
The clinics were open to help manage the COVID-19 pandemic and keep symptomatic people away from other patients and staff.
One of the problems with seeing these type of patients in general practice, if it turns out you get a respiratory infection or COVID as a GP, then you're out of work for a week as well.
17 other respiratory clinics in the city will continue to operate throughout winter, but they'll also eventually close.
GPs have been told that if they aren't already seeing COVID-19 positive patients face-to-face, they need to work out ways to do so. But many doctors have balked at that.
I think they've lost the plot. There is no change to the status of COVID. It's a very nasty disease.
This practice has set up its own outdoor clinic after its federal funding ran out last year.
We're totally booked out today, a full raft of respiratory symptoms.
But other GPs say it's unaffordable to go it alone. Several are calling for specialised respiratory clinics to be made permanent.
We're seeing no good guidance from authorities, state or federal, about how we should be caring for people with potential COVID.
If we didn't provide this service, well, it would ultimately fall back onto the local emergency department.
The Department of Health says 25 priority primary care clinics have also opened since last winter, and they will offer similar services. But that hasn't reassured everyone.
I think that we've learnt a lot and we're about to forget it, which is a disaster.
There are around 240 COVID-19 cases in hospital in Victoria this week.
Hundreds of thousands of Taylor Swift fans are flooding in and desperately racing to get their hands on tickets for Swift's upcoming Australian tour.
A wise woman in Taylor Swift once said, "You need to calm down," and I'm taking a few breaths this morning, relaxing a bit, because let me tell you, Emma, Swift fever is contagious, and I think I caught a little bit of it earlier, running around Southern Cross Station, speaking to excited fans. We'll hear from them in a little bit, but those fans, their wildest dreams have come true, because we've just heard the news this morning, breaking news that I've got here. 2 new shows have been added, one to Sydney, one to Melbourne. Now, we knew about the 16th and the 17th of Feb, but here at MCG, come the 18th of February, there's another show, and in Sydney at Stadium Australia, we knew about the first 3, the 23rd, 24th, 26th, and now a 4th one on the 27th. This is me trying, that's a reference, to gauge the reaction. Some very, very excited fans out there. Emma, take a listen. Have you got tickets?
No, I tried, but I didn't get any. I lined up for 6 hours. Oh my gosh.
I thought they were sold out. No, still a chance to get them. You can still shout your sister some tickets.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Not trying to get tickets?
No, my girlfriend did, but I didn't.
Oh, are you going with her though?
No, I'm not.
Is the Swiftie fever going to take you over, do you think?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, you got tickets?
Yeah.
How did you get the tickets?
One of my friends got them for me.
How excited are you?
So excited.
Are you going to Sydney show or Melbourne show?
Melbourne, yeah, Friday night.
Friday night, that's amazing. Did you hear more shows announced?
Yes, super exciting.
National MTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. And PNG NRL will play its round 12 matches starting Saturday. Godwin Eki has more.
Now, the National Rugby League competition will kick off its round 12 matches this coming weekend in respective parts of the country. Now, to kick off the competition this coming Saturday, the Lace Necks Tigers will take on the Kimbe Cutters in Kimbe, while the Sepik Pride will take on the Rabal Gurias in Wewak. And on Sunday, the NCDC Port Moresby Vipers will take on the Central Dabaris and Croton Hela Wigmen to take on the Gulf Iso here in Port Moresby at the Santos National Football Stadium. Now also on Sunday in other parts of the country, the Mendi Muruks will take on the Mount Hagen Eagles in Ley Morobe Province, while the Enga Mioks will take on the Goroka Lahanis in Goroka. Now, as of this coming weekend, the National Rugby League competition will only see 7 more rounds before it completes its regular rounds, before the competition of the grand final round kicks off for the National Rugby League competition in the country. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
Team PNG has less than 5 months to attend the 2023 Pacific Games in Solomon Islands. Again, Godwin Eki has more on this.
Now, after successfully winning the Mini Pacific Games, Team PNG athletes who are currently in preparations for the 2023 Pacific Games, preparing under their own respective sporting federations, PNG Olympic Committee, together with PNG Sports Foundation and its program, the High Performance Sport PNG, have been busy as of early this year preparing the national athletes in preparations for the Pacific Games come November this year. Now, PNG Olympic Committee is currently hosting other events to raise funds for the Team PNG contingent that will be sent to Solomon Island come November this year. Now, there are other events such as the Trukai Fun Run, as well as the PM's Golf Challenge, where interested corporate houses are invited to register so that Team PNG can raise funds to take its athletes to Solomon Islands come November this year. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
Leading up to the Pacific Games, the PNG Olympic Committee and the PNG Sports Foundation affirm preparations of athletes and teams to represent PNG focused on medal potential. PNG Sports Foundation CEO Albert Veratao stressed the minimum goal for PNG is to receive 90+ medals.
PNG Olympic Committee General Secretary Alvita Rapila gave an update on the recent Justification Committee meeting in regards to the athletes and team preparations.
And the last 2 weeks we've been holding Justification Committee meetings with all the 24 sports, and that is the third phase of the Justification Committee meetings, where the sports come in and they justify their athletes and their teams to be part of Team PNG to the Games.
She said the committee is working to ensure teams and athletes brought forward to represent the country are on target for medal potential.
As the Justification Committee, we've gone through that process. We're reviewing all of the teams that have been put forward to us, and we will be communicating decisions of the Justification Committee. We want to ensure that the teams put forward by each of the national federations are teams that are going to be competitive at the Games and meet our Games performance standards for Team PNG.
The CEO for PNG Sports Foundation, Albert Veratao, said the PNG Sports Foundation, along with the PNG Olympic Committee and other responsible committees, gathered yesterday for a performance strategy meeting, stressing on the target they had come up with for representing the teams and athletes.
Very precise. Been very precise in how we monitor sport and how we want to perform. We know what our target for gold medals is. We are looking at 90+ gold medals as the minimum to be up there among the top 2, or maybe even win the Solomon Games.
The CEO further stressed that the pressure is on PNG as the bigger country with a bigger budget and a bigger population to make a mark. Natasha Ovoy, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. A total of 42 young athletes from Northern Province have competed at the PNG Air Junior National Athletics Championships. The team has performed extremely well so far, collecting some gold and medals, silver and medals, and are expecting more medals after the finals.
These are the promising, enthusiastic junior athletes of the Northern Province. They have performed exceptionally well so far, collecting medals in almost all divisions. Team manager Laban Konene talked about the team's fundraising back in the province and how they traveled to Port Moresby.
Selling sausages, sandwiches, and takeaway. We were making our little fundraisings. Some of the athletes were left behind and they had to cry with their parents overnight. And they rushed to the airstrip once we were about to get on the plane, and they came last minute. So we had to arrange them for the next flight the next day.
Meantime, member for Sohe, Henry Jones Amuli, and Mr. Maurice Tovebai also visited the Oro Athletics team today and gave a total of 2,000 kina in cash, together with some foodstuff to the athletes. An emotional member Amuli assured these junior athletes that further assistance will be rendered for their return tickets.
And when I saw these young little children, it makes me drop tears. So I'm really proud of these young children coming here and participating. And I believe they succeed in some of the races and won gold. So that makes me proud. And I came purposely to show my presence to them.
These junior athletes are mostly from the Kombu Sangara LLG and Kokoda LLG in the Sohe district. Oro Athletics team is part of athletes from all over the country that are here in the nation's capital participating in the PNG Air Junior Athletics Championships. Lindy Suharupa, Trukai Sports.
PNG Boxing Federation is looking forward to hosting 2 more national events this year in preparations for their upcoming international bouts next year.
Now, after successfully hosting its first ever event in a long while, the PNG Kickboxing Federation President Stanley Nandex, in an interview with MTV's Trukai Sports recently, said that the PNG Kickboxing Federation has 2 national events coming up respectively in September and in December also this year. Now, the PNG Kickboxing Federation also has 2 international bouts that they are preparing to attend. In the next 6 months, the PNG Kickboxing Federation, from the selections made from its recent bout, players identified from this event will be trained in preparations for these international bouts. Now, this is what Stanley Nandex had to say. Take a listen.
And it's sad to see that we have so much potential, and I'm sure that with the funding given, I am very positive that we can run throughout whole provinces nationwide, and it's a sport that brings so much of excitement. It brings so much of also discipline in it, and it's good to invest a sport that will bring so much of values, not just racing champions, but racing role models. How do they go back and manage their own peer groups or within their own context? You know what I mean? So it is something that I am always trying to get this message across to responsible people, to the sports ministry, to fund. Why should we just spend so much money that we are not really producing much?
Now, the PNG Kickboxing Federation is asking corporate houses as well as the government to help support financially so that the Team PNG can be taken to their international bouts early next year. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region: Port Moresby City mostly fine, Popondetta mostly fine although cloudy at times. In the Momasa region, Lae City mostly fine although cloudy at times, Vanimo mostly fine. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengal mostly fine, Buka cloudy periods with few showers and thunderstorms. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City mostly fine, Mendi and Wabek mostly fine.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Thursday, the 29th of June 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Good night.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.